Robert Mueller's investigation is, in fact, now turning into a dangerous witch hunt by engaging what I've been warning about, investigation mission creep. And we've been highlighting night after night exactly what's going on here. And here are the facts. Mueller, who has massive, huge, numerous conflicts of interest with his relationship with James Comey, is now hiring an army of people to look into everything else but Trump-Russia collusion, including, for example, Jared Kushner's finances. There's also the fact that at least 3 people on Mueller's team have donated to Obama and Clinton. Does that sound fair, balanced, and partial to you? Or the fact that now they're investigating other issues like obstruction? Here's what's happening. This whole thing was supposed to be about so-called Trump-Russia collusion. But guess what? There's zero evidence. Well, none whatsoever at this point. So now Mueller is now looking into other things: finances, business dealings, obstruction. And we can expect it's only going to get bigger and more expansive day in and day out. And you can bet one thing: he's not going to stop until he finds something to justify his existence. It's what I call investigation mission creep. And speaking of the facts, if Mueller wants to investigate obstruction of justice, then he should ask his good friend James Comey, his BFF, about Loretta Lynch influencing him in the Clinton email investigation and meeting Bill Clinton on the tarmac and saying it's not an investigation, no, it's a matter. Oh, and by the way, Sarah Carter reporting, yes, she might have put the kibosh on any potential indictment. And if Mueller wants to look into his finances or any finances, then why not investigate the pay-to-play scheme that was going on at the Clinton Foundation? Remember, the Uranium One deal. There's a Russian conspiracy. Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, signing off on giving 20% of America's uranium to Vladimir Putin and the Russians. And by the way, all the while, people involved in that deal donating millions and millions to the Clinton Foundation. And while her husband, by the way, Bill Clinton, was doubling his speaking fees in Moscow. Now, instead of creating crimes, Mueller should be investigating the ones we actually know occurred, including the felonies by Hillary Clinton. Here with reaction, author of the brand new book, by the way, a bestseller, Understanding Trump, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor, Newt Gingrich. You know, you said something this weekend that really is true, but should be scary to every American. People are going to be indicted over something that has nothing to do with the original investigation.
Well, look, I absolutely believe that. If you look at, it gets worse the more I've done research over the last 3 or 4 days. The State Department, or the Justice Department, the Department of Justice, has 97% of its donations went to Hillary Clinton, 3% went to Trump. That's at the Justice Department. That was bad enough as a culture. Now it turns out that the law firm that Mueller comes from was this is almost hard to believe, 99.81% of their money went to Hillary Clinton. It was like $360,000 to a total of $678. So you have this very biased culture at the Department of Justice, which is 97% for Hillary in terms of donations. They then reach out to an even more biased law firm, which is at 99.81%, to find the lawyer to head up the nonpartisan, remember, nonpartisan investigation. He then hires 4 key lawyers, all of whom donated to Democrats. As you pointed out, my favorite is the one who defended the Clinton Foundation against Freedom of Information Act.
It worked for Hillary.
It's unbelievable. You know, as somebody who occasionally writes novels, I don't know that I'd have the nerve to write this novel. But if somebody wants to know what the deep state is, start up here with the Justice Department's 97%, come down then to the law firm at 99.81%, pick a group of lawyers who are hardcore Democrats, 2 of whom, by the way, also had prosecutorial problems because they hid evidence from the defendants. One was repudiated 9-0 by the Supreme Court. And you look at this pattern, and I think it's not defensible.
Rosenstein wrote a 2-page memo saying Comey has to go. Okay. Right. So Comey then leaks to the New York Times. Then Comey then gets his BFF to be the special counsel. Rosenstein contributes to all of this. And now he's talking about shifting away from Russia-Trump collusion, the lie, into obstruction and finances. This is dangerous for this country. Both of them need to recuse themselves and get out of the way. Why are they even still there?
Well, I mean, you have to question the entire special investigatory process that brings in these headhunters who are very high-powered lawyers. They're not going to leave until they get somebody. And that was my point over the weekend. You know, Karl Rove wrote a very good column last week in the Wall Street Journal because he's lived through this. And he said, you have to be very worried about special investigators running amok. And he cited in his own case, he had forgotten one phone call. Now, imagine how many phone calls somebody in Karl's position in the White House was getting. He forgot one phone call that was months ago or a year ago. They almost indicted him for forgetfulness. I mean, that's how vindictive, that's how powerful the criminal powers of the state are.
Scooter Libby had a perjury trap. By the way, I want to send our thoughts and prayers to the family of this young man, Otto, that just recently returned from North Korea. He died tonight. I am so sad for this family. I want to ask you one final question, and I think this is important. I really believe this rhetoric, this hatred that I talked about